Hello, good morning. Welcome all to JKTV. Today we are coming with a new set of information about how spirituality will improve our modern life. Today we have Dr. Prameela Sreemangalam with us to give us more insights about how we can make our lives very spiritually insightful in the present very technically advanced scenario. So let me introduce first about Dr. Prameela Sreemangalam. Dr. Prameela Sreemangalam, also called as Dr. Pam by her lovelies, and the people who is a respects her. Dr. Pam is an author, practicing psychotherapist, and life coach who is connected to the consciousness of infinite healing through hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, Akashic records, and metaphysical healing. She is the founder and director of MindScan, a center for healing, inner transformation, and life evolution. She is the chosen one by the divine to do his work on this planet by teachers and masters and helping the people to ascend in their spiritual journey. Ma'am, I now give the dais to you to speak on how spirituality is going to help the humanity to evolve in several aspects. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madhuri. Spirituality as a perception and realization has always existed. It is not a new discovery in modern times. Rather, it is a very ancient related science. The core of every humanity has been deep rooted and connected with one consciousness, which is spiritual sense. Over the hundreds of years man has lived upon the earth, he has taken these lessons while living and leading his life on a day to day aspect, and yet activated the lights into the future progression through his offsprings or as through the future generation children. And these children, as they became the torchbearers of light, continued to be in the light of this universe. And thus, spirituality is a very essential element in a man's day to day scenario. Yet, in today's time, the modern times, where the rising demands of technology, world aspects are transforming, political scenarios are at a larger awareness level, there are different aspects of work, functions, productions that is expected for mankind role. Yet, when spirituality can be absorbed and understood in the simple logical processes of one's own mind, it makes them grounded. And yet, more can be derived and more can be delivered in that purpose to the future of the universe. Earth was always gifted with life. Life was coming from human beings who took the birth. Life in the form of animals, birds. It came from the nature, the water flow, the natural minerals. A plant and a tree growing in the nature also contributed to the life force of Mother Earth. So too the circulation of air, the matter, the light. All are very relevant that life is definitely present for this earth. While human beings are supposed to be the most evolved species and the most aware ones because they are gifted with the capability of mind, which can think, which can also perform, and with the active understanding of the vocal sounds, the auditory capabilities. Man can talk, man can hear, man can feel with his senses. So, thus, he is become the most advanced being to operate in the awareness with spirituality. So, when man operates with the understandings of his capable mind and aligned with spirituality, he is not just helping himself to evolve, but he is inspiring far many people who may be gripped in darknesses or who may not be aware about how to synthesize or process this spiritual science. While spirituality can be experienced through healing, which is a very natural resource present in the universe, whether a man gives healing to someone or nature gives healing to man through naturopathy, Ayurveda, herbs, backflower remedies, and likewise many other processes. Also, the gift of a compassionate, loving pet in the house also fosters the energy of healing. But yet, man, when he is able to connect with one another, that is his immediate family with whom he resonates and lives in directly on a day to day level, he is opening the portals of importance of healing life and transforming the life with spirituality. So, thus, as spirituality is a major force that is meant for life, it benefits one and all. There was a trend at a period of time. This I would relate 40 years back, 30 years back, when people felt or said that let us retire to absorb and understand spirituality. Till then, we have to do the actions, the work, the functions on a day to day level. It existed as a belief. This is no more relevant in this present day of the universe. If you just go back 20 years back, 10 years back, in these last 1 to 2 decades, tremendous shifts has occurred where a man is no longer waiting for him or her to find his retirement age to go through the spiritual understanding. Rather, it has become a essence today itself. A child inducted into the discipline of oneness, brotherhood, spiritual purposes, and understanding about their life. They are already leading and living that purpose at this young age itself. This is helping them to combat with day to day stresses. A man who put spirituality as a later agenda, we realize that they never really accomplished it for the simple reason that they were connected with emotional senses of gratification, food, family, marriage, children, and work. While these are also the roles that one has to connect with, but this added as stresses, and by the time he or she came into the retirement level, they were already sad, depressed, because some things did not shape up the way they expected their life to be. Or when calamities came or difficulties came, they felt that what is the good of pursuing spirituality when my life itself has not blessed me with the growth? And these are the present scenarios where we see stresses which has created depression, negativity, and people are fighting physical ailments and illnesses formed out of emotions and thoughts of their own life patterns. Yet, the younger generation that we see in the present phase, who are also accomplishing their understanding that they have to accomplish their life, they have to work, they have to form their foundation of life. Yet, when they are spending few minutes on a regular aspect or daily in their spiritual purposes, such people are having farther vision about life. They are not stressed. They are not going through the anxiousness the way the world should have because spirituality is accepted in their consciousness. If you ask what are the ways that spirituality can be brought into one's consciousness, there are various tools. Again, spirituality is not a limited way, but it is a multidimensional, diversified ways. So, based on the kind of your intelligence, you can get aligned with spirituality. An individual who's a nature lover or who loves to connect with the bigger purpose of the universe, they can meditate and bring spiritual changes in themselves. Some people can bring spiritual changes and senses of awareness in their consciousness by writing, by journaling, by reading and reflecting. Likewise, also finding time for their own solitude and perceptions. At that time, they are not thinking about anything that they have to accomplish or desire to be fulfilled, but just observing in the moment while being mindful about what has occurred in the previous hours itself is giving them the insight to connect with spiritual dimensions. So, spirituality can also be accomplished through nature retreats or by going through on holidays and visiting nature, relaxing in that. And each of this only improves one's energy better. So, spirituality can be tapped by all the seekers in the way that they wish to derive it for themselves. And yet, when this is brought forward in the purpose of life agenda, it makes an individual very well aware. And the truth that we are here upon this earth for a temporary timeline. But what is that purpose upon this earth that we have been brought into this form is what one has to understand or identify. So, the constant question, who am I? Why am I here? Am I here to learn something, implement something, or deliver something, create something, do something? Each of these questions, when it comes into your awareness time and again, and when you reflect, you begin to realize the bigger meaning behind it. And thus, you are then guided to take your steps ahead. Now, who guides us into this? Who are the ones who are inspiring us? One is a strong spirit guided will itself, a will which is a part of man's intellect, is making him to think and understand of this. But this torch has been handed over with support or with lessons by our own very closed members in lives. For a child, it begins with their mother, their father, and their grandparents, who they spend their life with. For a partner in relationship, in marriage, it is the partners who inspires one another. We put forward these lessons to our own children, and thus this spark of spirituality is already present within us, and we have to keep activating it time and again and passing it ahead so that the light will prevail in the earth. Light is always there, light of the sun, light of the nature, light of the trees. Every part of divine's creation is already performing his work. But when man understands his purpose with light through his intellect, he is participating in the bigger creation of life, participating in the understanding of this purpose. So, this is what I have to talk about spirituality and life in the present agenda at this time.
Ma'am, what your mind scan is into? Can we know what your mind scan is into, please? Please
Sure,
share some details about mind scan.
sure. MindScan, which is a center for healing, inner transformation, and life evolution, was inducted into the light of this universe in the year 2009. This mission about MindScan, which is a trademark center, came as a guidance from the lights, and I was drawn towards this understanding of service to humanity, which came, of course, with some of my own life experiences in family, and which inspired me to dwell into this. So, when some aspects of your life reveals to you that you are meant for a larger pathway, for me, it came through the form of various deaths of some very close people who I knew in life. So, the deaths became the pathway for the light to realize through me. And then this came into the light of the universe. First, MindScan was practicing single-handedly in the clinic in city of Mumbai, and into a psychologist and therapist clinic. Individuals from many fortes of life came up, different cultures, different belief systems, various aspects, but all connected to one theme, that is mind. They came. And when therapies were inducted into their consciousness to find resolutions for what they were seeking, like resolutions, we can say some came with cancer, some came with mind disturbances, some came with sorrows, some came with depression, some came with personality difficulties of emotional imbalances or karmic suffering, that they know they are suffering but they could not clear the pain out of their self. And when we began to put psychological inducted therapies into their consciousness through lights, there was a rapid, immediate shift of healing that went through. While my cognitive mind might have said that this is a gift of psychology, but yet, when I put them in for therapies, many of my clients revealed and told that the moment I induct them, there is a certain energy of light force that is there. Some could see it coming out of my heart, some could find it around my head, some could feel that the moment I touched their forehead to induct them into a session, there was an electric energy that was flowing. While I would not understand this phenomena, what it was, but being a supreme believer of the divine and the many lineages of gurus, masters of lights, and the land that we are born in India, connects with the spiritual essence from the roots itself. So, as I acknowledge each of this, I felt that it was a divine light that was going through in the form of healing. But my spiritual purpose of shift into this pathway, which began through meditative processes, readings, journalings between 2007 2008, and from the time this foundation was inducted in 2009, inspired me to meditate and journal a lot more. So as I continued with that, is when I realized that it was divine who directed and put me into this foundation to deliver their higher functions and purpose by assembling the meaning of psychology and understanding with life, and how man can heal their grief, their troubles, their sorrows, and outgrow their karmic depths or sufferings that metaphysics calls as, with the cognitive awareness of mind itself, because free will is a gift that is given to every human being. Free will, which is a cognitive mind perception itself. When we implement and work on the free will. Free will is what we are living in the present with, what we are aware to operate in the present. And this is there for each of the human beings. So when we rework on that understanding of free will every day, we are able to channel our purpose, our intent in a positive way. And we bring about resolution with the work of the mind. All the great sages, the great prophets, the great teachers, great gurus, great ascended masters, and through the scriptures, the lessons, the new age books and works have emphasized on the power of mind. Every scripture, the world renowned scripture, whether in India or globally, they connect with the importance of mind. So, mind is an accepted tool. Psychology reinforces the importance of mind. And thus, a cognitive understanding between mind, psychology, life experiences, when combined together, is what is the outcome that we call as spirituality. And thus, mind transcends. So, when this came up and this mind scan began to deliver it, it began to just grow into the lights and hearts. And thus, as I continued in the pathway, my career became very busy. Uh, and yet I would derive lot of happiness and energy to keep working, constantly keep working. My productivity timeline enhanced in 24 hours from a employee who served the airline for 8 hours to 10 hours of a job. The work capacity enhanced to 14 to 16 hours in a day without me getting physically tired, because your spirit source was guiding your spirit to perform the actions. So the lights was available for you. And most importantly, many divine agenda work was getting accomplished. What it is to clear somebody from cancer, what it is to find a cure for something that is growing within your body with the help of psychology and lights and mind, what it is to help somebody to come out of a psychological grief or a psychic suffering of pain and depression. So these things definitely uplifted the consciousness. And then as I continued with my exercise with self discipline of meditation, writing, and journaling, and observing things, came the work in assembly of the great ascended masters that became the central functions of mind scan. Now, the great ascended masters that we call as Master Buddha, Master Ganesha, Master Lord Jesus, Master Krishna, Master Paramahansa Yogananda, Maha-Avatar Babaji, Goddess Parvati, Goddess Ambika, likewise Goddess Isis, God Master Osiris, Master Moses, King Solomon, Saint Germain, Lady Nada. So all of this walk-in assembly of masters began to come up, began to reveal that how humanity needs to work with the lights of the masters and how it can be activated through the process of mind scan programs, like which has invocations, which is activation of the light of a particular or many masters into their consciousness through their heart chakra, and working into the different energetic layers of the system, including the spiritual and the soul level. So when these guidances came, writing continued, and as the writing continued, came the delivery of the content, and humanity began to receive the bigger wisdom about it. And then humanity began to realize that it is not by chasing the external needs, the wants, the emotions, or the desires that will give us fulfillment, but it is integrating and absorbing the spiritual essence as a part of their own consciousness that shifts the reality in all the external dimensions, and how their life evolves from one step to the next phase and further to the next phase. And there is no stoppage for the evolution. Evolution is constant, and which means every day we have to wake up to rise to that evolution. So thus MindScan became the forefront into the work of the masters channel healing programs. We have more than 15-20 programs that is running through the MindScan. But of course, for delivering this further content, it was not possible for me to handle it single handedly. So, thus, divine directed individuals, people began to come and they began to learn the process, evolve in the process, ascend with understanding, integrate with grounding, and thereafter they began to deliver it. And thus, our MindScan team of mentors, teachers, and healers are carrying the higher purpose function. And what does this higher function mean? Connection of heart to the lights with oneness, brotherhood, common intention to rise in the earth energy. And of course, learn a lot of healing modalities through the process so that healing is a natural gift which was always present for humanity wherever they forgot it in the pathway of life. It activated the purpose of finding yourself with your own healing, where masters have guided something which is very, very relevant, which is known as self healing process with masters of lights. And through this self healing process, humanity continue to rise in the pathway of light. So, thus, the work is growing ahead with the Masters of Lights and through MindScan.
Thank you very much, ma'am, that the insights about the spirituality and how your mind scan is working to integrate the master's lights into the humanity. It's very great to listen from you. And we will reach again from you to know about more healing modalities and how these healing modalities are transforming their lives. Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving your valuable time to spend with us and to give more insights to our viewers that even in these modern times, it is not possible, like it is not impossible for anybody to rise spiritually where they can change their lives very, very happily and turn their lives, carve their lives beautifully. Thank you, Prameela ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers, for watching this video about the mind scan and their work on transforming lives. If anybody is interested, you can reach for the given numbers which are scrolling down below. And this is JKTV, and wait for more and more insightful sessions on healing, psychology, and more interesting topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhuri.